Hi all, welcome to the for BIM projects. I'm Alyssa Jairus and doing the webinar today. Okay, I just want to check my volume. 1 second. Just give me a second. Perfect. Always have to check these things. All right. Okay, let's go for it. Who's Baker Baines? I always put these few slides in the beginning of our webinars. Just to give you guys an overview of who we are and what we offer. We're a reseller of Autodesk products, but it's not limited to that. It's a little bit more than that. And we have a range of services, including a few new things like a partner of the Leica BLK360 and a TopCon partner, which is fun and exciting for all the scanning work that we've been doing. Okay, so we at Baker Baines believe in designing a better world, in delivering a better project or product, and in technological adoption for you to produce the best results. Okay, let's look at today's agenda. Okay, we're going to go through just an overview of these items, coordination and clash detection, what it is, why, what are the different methods that are conventional versus the digital methods, what technologies are that's supporting those management of coordination, and clash detection best practice workflows, or kind of the correct workflow rather, and the workflow within specifically the build industry for today. So we'll start there. So clash detection and coordination, what is it and why? If you don't know what it is, but you should know what it is. And if you don't, coordination is basically the management of all of the different environments or the disciplines that come together to create this holistic building. So how does that get managed? Okay, there's various industries that get involved in a building process, and how does that together work? A clash out of that would be basically if items from different disciplines, for example, from the mechanical field and the plumbing field, if those items being built clash in some way, then they would be building them on top of each other, which is wrong, and it doesn't really make sense. So we do a clash detection to identify these processes to see how best to solve them before they get onto site. Well, that's the more digital way of doing it. Okay, so this is an example of a building that was built in 15 days in China. Okay, 15 days. So I thought it would be great for you guys to just quickly see this, because it, although amazingly built, you know, through prefabricated items just brought into site and installed, one would want to question how was coordination done, and how did the guys do this within such a small amount of time. And the more clashes, obviously, one would have on site, the longer the contribution, therefore, is added to the amount of time taken to build this building. So it's a nice little thing for me to just show you. You guys can research this and check out the building that was built. I'm just going to click to continue. Okay, so factors in project completion. One would be labor. How fast can we do the work? Okay, the time spent on these items, time lost, okay, for various reasons. There might be, you know, strikes on site, whatever it might be. Time lost would also, the factor to contribute to that would be for clashes on site as well. So if you don't figure out these issues before you get to site, then you obviously have a loss in time. So materials and how long they get delivered, or what's the time lapse in order for the materials to get delivered to site, and replacement of materials that would be required on site for the problems that would encounter on site. Okay, so in all of this, we're trying to coordinate this building life cycle. So we're helping estimate these things, schedule items, control the project or manage the project so that we can better coordinate everything. And in all of this, there's quantification, there's schedules that happened, and eventually there's handover of these items. And most of the time, our handover is done on a late basis or a very delayed. There's a delayed handover for various number of reasons. Okay, so why do a clash beforehand? So obviously it affects almost everything. It affects the time, and there's a big cost factor as well for the material being used and having to rebuild whatever was done on site if you don't catch those clashes beforehand. Okay, and it shouldn't be forgotten or underestimated, and I don't think it is. I don't think so. So let's look at clash detection, conventional versus digital. Okay, conventional paper method was based on architectural, civil engineer, structural engineer, all your engineers actually basically doing their own designs in their little office and not taking into account a whole bunch that happens on site. Okay, so these are done on each individual offices, and then one might have a meeting maybe on a Friday or whatever day was chosen where everybody comes together and tries to solve the issue of coordination and whether there are clashes that are going to be on site. And now that's very, very difficult when it comes to a paper-based method. Everything is seen in 2D. Everything is seen as a flat paper based element, and the only thing you can pick up is a little annotation on the side that might tell you what height a certain footing is in, and based on that we try and figure out where and how this is clashing, so that in order to prevent them from being built like that on site. Okay, but usually most of the time, this method, you pick up a lot of issues. You don't catch something. It's human error. We don't see stuff very well when it's in 2D. Okay, so challenges of the conventional documentation for interdisciplinary coordination, lack of alignment between project teams, inefficient work processes, movement towards sustainable living. I like that one. We want to move towards a paperless society. Other than the other issues that we have, the bigger picture also would be is that we want to move away from paper. The amount of paper that we use in coordination meetings and getting rid of those. If you think about how much printing gets done, it's actually quite ridiculous. So let's take a look at the digital clash detection and let's see how we would prefer to do this. So modern clash management with BIM 360 and Navisworks. Okay, that's the two offerings that we're speaking about today. And we want to take these disciplines and, okay, we're going to see BIM 360 Glue and we're going to see a lot of BIM 360 Coordinate. I'll just mention that in a bit. But we're going to take these disciplines, and we want to be able to basically do our coordination and management in our own offices, but also we're linking back to each other's files in a very BIM movement forward or management forward, even with the various tools that we have like BIM 360 and Navisworks. Okay, so using these tools we can try to figure out our clashes before our meetings and then come to our meetings well prepared and not waste any time on the minor things that we can sort out by ourselves in our own offices. Okay, so let's look at the Autodesk solutions for some of the clash management or coordination management. The first one there would be Navisworks. Okay, Navisworks is a desktop software, and there's 3 right now. Okay, that's the first one there being a Navisworks Freedom, which is what the word suggests, or the name suggests, that it's free. Okay, and it's free to use for a viewer. Okay, so it reads NWD and DWF only. It just has a basic reviewing functionality. So any one person that might just need to view files and do basic annotations or basic review reviews on these files. One could just get a free option without getting into the more paid for subscriptions. The middle one there is a little entry level, it's still paid for, and that works with BIM 360. It reads all formats, and it doesn't have, the only thing that it doesn't have is the clash detection tool. And that might be very, very important if you were the one, doing the clashes, if you were the BIM manager, for instance, or the project coordinator, and you were the one who was handling the clashes and the coordination management. Then you might want to go for something like a Navisworks Manage, which is premium, and it has basically all the tools. It's also included in the AAC collection, which is very important. Okay, it's important because most of us in our companies have the AAC collection, but we're just not making full use of it. This is a list of some of the items that are part of the AAC collection. Okay, there's Revit, there's AutoCAD. Usually everybody only knows the two products. But if you have access to the AAC collection, you have access to all of these softwares, but we're not utilizing it to the degree that it needs to be. One point that I want to bring up is Revit Live is no longer in the collections going forward. It stopped and it's discontinued. It stopped at 2018. Revit Live was something to do more with graphics and visualization, so it's worth me just bringing that point up. But check out with your company if you have access to the AAC collection, and therefore you have access to Navisworks Manage. BIM 360 Coordinate. Just quickly on the naming convention, Autodesk, as always, loves changing things. So they've changed the name a couple of times. So here and there you might see BIM 360 Glue, which was the prior name, the previous name. But now they have actually changed it to BIM 360 Coordinate and Model Coordinate. So you might see both those two names as we go forward. Just keep in the back of your mind that BIM 360 Coordinate going forward is now the new naming convention. Okay, so BIM 360 platform, just to give you an overview of the platform and what happens, it's basically meant for a documentation management tool. The overall idea of BIM 360 was that you could be in any space, anytime, different location, different office. You don't have to be close to the person, and you could manage the construction documentation from all industries or all disciplines in this one platform. That was just the main idea. Obviously, now there's different parts and portions to BIM 360. There's something meant for the design phase, something meant for pre-construction, field execution, what happens to the snag lists, the safety lists on site. So there's different components to BIM 360, but all of these components are built onto BIM 360 Docs. BIM 360 Docs is where you basically manage your construction documentation. Everything is tracked in there. Issues are tracked in there. People can't come back to you and say they haven't received something because there's tracked information on here. The latest revision for documents can be found there. Meeting minutes can be found here. You can utilize it in that way. Off BIM 360 Docs, there's now built-in BIM 360 Design, Glue, and Build. Glue is now changed to Coordinate. And for BIM 360 Coordinate, that is used for clash detection and coordination, but taking that clash detection and coordination into the cloud space. Okay, so the internet, being able to be in any location and continually do coordination management and have everyone have access to those files online. Okay, so some of the software features to give you a difference. The first one is Navisworks. It is cloud-based controlled work sharing, design review, so you can do BIM coordination, visualization of model revisions, RFI, and submittal management. Okay, so that's with regard to Navisworks, and there's more analysis done in Navisworks than in BIM 360, which has a bit of it's more summarized, obviously, because that's taken into the internet. So BIM 360 coordinate integration, clash detection, model coordination, combining all the BIM models into one coordination model on the cloud, and being able to do clash detection on this as well. Okay, so clash detection or clash workflows and best practices. All right, so let's take a look at Navisworks Manage first. Okay, that's on your desktop. It's not on the cloud, so it's on the desktop. Okay, so the basic workflow is we have our architectural team, or our project team rather. Our project team with all our engineers and our consultants, and hopefully we have what we call a BIM manager, who basically, it's a new role that's coming about in the industry, where this person's role would vary through different companies, and they would, depending on their role, may be involved in a lot of the coordination processes. So let's hope that we have someone like this. If we have a project manager who would take that place, then just think of it as that. In some cases, in most older cases, the architect normally takes the head and is the principal agent and does the coordination management. Okay, so just keep that in the back of your mind. So we have all these project teams. They have their files. They then send these files for Navisworks into the BIM manager. All right. The BIM manager then sets up and sends files. So he does his little clash detection, coordination management at his office, and then sends those files with the comments to each of the consultants. Okay. So Tuesday it's a bit different. Wednesday it's a bit different. Architect may come back and say, okay, I've responded. Here's my new file with my updated changes. MEP, so MEP stands for Mechanical, Electrical, and Plumbing. So MEP consultant come back and says, okay, done my changes. Here you go, BIM manager. Here's my new file. BIM manager then takes that file, integrates the new files, and then on Friday, they have their meeting where they sit down and address any other drastic major pieces of coordination that they might have. Okay, so let's go through this. Clash detection process. Consultants will then generate a Navisworks NWC file, and that can be done through Revit. If you're using Revit or any other BIM application, you should be able to create an NWC file. If you can't straight off of your software, and the reason why I'm saying this is because you might be using something else that's not Autodesk related, and that's totally fine, but you might have a plug-in or add-in installed on your PC in order for you to export this file. So they send the NWC file to the BIM specialist or the BIM manager. So he has that NWC file that he gets from everyone. He can then compile, okay, a Navisworks file, an NWF model from these NWC files. Okay, so it takes it into Navisworks. He merges the files together. Okay. Then the project director and the BIM specialist does a review. So they do sit and do a review of the clashes that happen, take a look at who needs to move what. They then create a spreadsheet with all this information that they have on hand. BIM specialist then publishes and distributes an NWD file to each of the consultants and the people involved with these clashes. Okay, so that they can review it with all the comments and markups. The BIM specialist then attends the coordination meeting, and he has on hand his little action tracker, his Excel spreadsheet, or even a clash report from Navisworks himself, and then you can go through the information and check what has been resolved. Take a look at the next steps and take a look at what items have been resolved so they can cross it out the list. All right, so that would be the generic workflow for a Navisworks model. So when it comes to BIM 360 Glue, which is more on the cloud, okay, so we're taking all of that processes, summarizing it a little bit, and putting it onto the cloud. So how would that workflow work? BIM 360 Coordinate. we have our BIM manager, okay, and on our BIM 360 site, we can then merge all of these files, okay. So we can merge all of those files together in BIM 360 Coordinate, and each consultant can go onto BIM 360 and check out and do their own clash detection and come back or go and resolve it with the said discipline. For example, on Monday, civil and structural can do their little clash detection, and management come back to each other and say, okay, you move this, I move that, set up their own meeting on Monday. Tuesday, structural decides that he wants to talk to the MEP consultants, and they can do their clash and resolve it together. Obviously, at some point, we'd have a meeting together. Okay, resolve clashes. At some point, everybody wants to meet on a certain day and just goes through the items that they've actually accomplished or resolved, and the BIM manager needs to make sure that he manages all these processes together. But this is done in the cloud, and the idea here in the perfect world would be not for one person to be doing these clashes, but for each individual to take ownership of their model and do their clashes together, and then obviously meet at some point to go through what's been done. Okay, the BIM manager manages the processes and probably would want to be included in these meetings that happen daily. All right, so to give you an idea of how this would work is in your Revit model, you can create a 3D view for coordination. So we're going to upload, to give you an example, we're going to upload the models into Glue. So we're going to create a 3D view for coordination. We then send this to the BIM 360 Glue. On there would be a whole bunch of models from each discipline, and then we merge those models together. Okay, and that model can be, merged and glued is the term that they've used here frequently, and after something's been revised, they can have a new model and merge that again. Okay, so this is the merging of the models. We create folders in BIM 360, now called Coordinate. We create folders. We have a whole bunch of 3D models in there that we can select to be merged. Okay, once aligned, okay, and reviewed, we can easily add new models, okay, thereafter. So what's important is that these models being taken into BIM 360 Glue and Navisworks, actually, for instance, they need to have the same coordinate system. Otherwise, you're gonna struggle a little bit. BIM 360 Coordinate will help you to align models to the same point, but in essence, we should have properly coordinated files in terms of where's your level points. Is everybody working off the same levels and same north point and same coordinate tools? So if I pick a spot coordinate in the corner of the site, everybody should have the same information. Okay, that needs to be made sure that it's done before taking it into all of these other processes. We can also just do measurements and markups on BIM 360 Glue. Obviously, you can do this on Navisworks as well. So we can select the measurement tool. We can measure lengths online. Okay, make sure that the check the tolerance between things, and we can save a markup or a screenshot view and share that with whoever it might be. You can see in the last picture. We can review this online, and this is a complete 3D model online. Okay, it's got nothing to do with any software on your desktop, but I can open up my viewer and start annotating and marking up and making comments on this model. Okay, how does the clash detection process work in BIM 360 Coordinate? Designers upload to a collaboration model. Awesome. Designers then spell check in BIM 360. Okay, the term they use, spell check, it's just checking items against each other's. So they can check certain elements against each other from two separate models. They can then comment, mark up, and set statuses of the clash to say whether it's resolved or it's pending or it can be ignored. Okay, we can then open up clash results in Revit and AutoCAD if required. All right. Oh, let's go back. Clash detection from BIM coordinator point of view. So we're going to open up the latest BIM 360 glue model in Navisworks. We could do that because the file is being merged in BIM 360 and can be opened up in Navisworks. Okay, so our BIM coordinator could take that file, use his Navisworks on his desktop, open up that file, import and run clashes for his reports or whatever he needs to do. He can start sorting and grouping certain clashes together that might be around the same object. You know, if there's one object and there's several clashes to do with that, he can then group and filter and sort these results together. He can then export out a clash report with a little screenshot. You can see there on the far right, a little screenshot with information about which model it's coming from, what's the element, if you required element ID off of that so you can quickly find it in your Revit or your other BIM software. Okay, so BIM 360 for collaboration and BIM management, and Navisworks is for advanced BIM analysis. Okay, so if you want to do advanced BIM analysis, Navisworks would be for your choice. Okay, but in all of this, we need to make sure our models have a shared coordinate system, okay? And the whole project team, not just the architect, not just the civil guy. We need to make sure that every single person has well-coordinated models in terms of the shared coordinate system. Okay, then we can collect project models from each team thereafter. We need to start empowering a team to coordinate and resolve clashes by themselves. Okay, there's more than one way to do that. There's also certain functionalities in Revit that can help you resolve smaller clashes and information that might be overlapping. Okay, but moving towards BIM 360, we want to be able to empower the team to coordinate and resolve clashes by themselves. Okay, last point, coordinate the project in BIM 360. Okay, so then we can see this workflow from a major analysis that is first done on Navisworks, okay, with the team, with all of the shared models. And at a later stage, we can then take that model and the separate models and do our smaller clashes on BIM 360 by ourselves. We don't need the architect there. We need someone to manage the processes going forward, because you always need someone to manage stuff. But we should be able to empower the team to coordinate and resolve clashes by themselves. So let's look at clash workflows in the architectural design and modeling space. Okay, let's take a look at Navisworks. Okay, I might just have to play this. Cool, this is us in Revit. And I am then exporting out a NWC file. Okay, I've then taken it into Navisworks. Okay, there's my merged model with different disciplines on the left. You can see that just switching through those. Okay, I can open up the clash detective tool. Awesome. I can then select what I want to clash. It's very nice that you can actually go down to the levels or specific items that you want to clash, not just the whole building. I can run the test, and then I have hopefully just 6 clashes, and then I can go through these clashes and change the status and assign them to people. Okay, this does not send an email to the person, but if this person receives this file, they'll be able to attend to what has been assigned to them. And you can leave notes on there so that people need to review these items that were involved in the clash. Okay, this is done by hopefully the BIM manager in the case. Okay, this is just a little simulation. Okay, it's got nothing to do with the clash detection. It's a little simulation through Navisworks. Okay, you could maybe just walk around in there as per any BIM software that you might get. And we have a little man, third person. Okay, you can look around, check out whatever they might be. This is another example of what's in Navisworks. It's time lapse. It's better for maybe project managers or even contractors that link their time and their schedule to the elements in the BIM software or in the Revit software, and they can create a time lapse of the building. Okay, just a nice fun little extra added info there. It's although mainly used for clash detection, there are other things in Navisworks that it can be used for quantification, scheduling things, and so on. So let's take a look at the same processes, but in BIM 360 coordinate. Okay, I might have to just start this. Okay, you can see that just quickly before I press play. This is the BIM 360 docs with the document management with a whole bunch of people linked into this hub, right? And they can then upload information. Okay, this is on the cloud. This is on the internet. So they've dragged and dropped their model there with a whole bunch of views. And there's a model and information for each of the disciplines. Perfect, all right? So we're going to search out and filter some information. We want to merge these models together. Perfect. And we want to view them together. Awesome. Okay, we can then use the online viewer. Again, this is not a software-based desktop viewer. This is online and on the cloud. Right, we can hide some of the elements that we don't want to see, perform our clash detection between all those elements, and see our clash matrix between certain things. We can filter out what we want to see after that clash detection is done. Okay. Then we can then look through the list of clashes. So we have 426. Wow, that's amazing. So I'm going to click on that, and then we can take a look at, oh, okay, we see what's clashing. Do we want to ignore this? Do we say that it's been reviewed or resolved? We can then change the status of that. Okay, let's take a look at BIM 360 glue. Okay, coordinate and glue are still the same, slight changes. Okay, this is me selecting 2 models and selecting a bunch of things from those 2 models and then doing a clash detection. Okay, we can still do this as well. So this is me taking a look at structural framing. I'm taking a look at the duct fittings, maybe, you know, a few of those items, selecting what I want to clash together, not just the whole building, because we don't want to have 426 clashes. So I'm going to name this duct structure level 0 and do our clash detection. Okay, there's my list of clashes. I can then look at the magnitude of this, click on it, and it should highlight in my screen for me. All right, so it highlights in 2 colors because it indicates 2 different items, 2 different disciplines, and we can take a look at whether it's worth messaging the person. So this is the benefit of it. We can notify this individual that is responsible for that model straight away via email, and comments and reviews and that you can leave on BIM 360, and people get notified about that. So we have a track of the information sent back and forth between people. Oh, sorry. All right. Do we have any questions? I'm going to give you guys a few questions because we're basically done, and I'm just going to wait and give you guys a few minutes for any questions that you might have. I'll try and answer them on the spot. If I can't, please do take down my email, email me other things that you might, you know, want to see or whatever it might be. It's always good to hear from you guys. So I'm going to give you a few minutes. Okay, it's good to have these webinars and sessions to keep people informed. So I'm very glad that you guys have joined. It's good to be informed about what's out there because, I mean, I was from architectural space, and, you know, it was difficult to keep in the loop with what's going on. And then you get exposed to a bunch of things and you figure out that you've been living in a rock or under a rock your whole life. So it's good that you guys attend webinars and keep up to date with what's going on. If there are no questions, we can end there. Oh, okay, there's a question. There's a question from Kelly. Is the time lapse on Navisworks linked to Microsoft projects? I need to check with you. Check with that for you. It's a very good question because I know a lot of contractors do their planning and their schedules on Microsoft projects. I know that you could use it off an Excel spreadsheet and link that into the model, but I'd love to just check up for you. So I'm going to take down your details on the site and just email you back to just confirm for you. I think that'll be really cool if it does, because that'll be very helpful for a lot of contractors and project managers. So thank you so much, Kelly, for your question. If there's no one else with questions, I mean, you guys must feel free to email me at alyssa@bakerbaines.com in case there's something specific that you might want to see us do on our webinars, or if you just want to say hi. Thanks, guys. Thanks for attending and enjoy your weekend. Bye.